Hi friends, I'm Scott Giles, minister and hypnotist, and welcome to Power Talk, my video blog where I cover topics that interest me, focusing on how you can use the power of your mind to take control of your life. If you want to know more about my professional work or sign up for my free e-newsletter Power Lines, check out my website, which I'll tag in the description. Well, today I want to talk about the fact that we are all going to die. Death is not a cheery topic, but it is an important one, and I think there is wisdom here. HBO's fantasy show Game of Thrones, in its fifth season, has Arya Stark, one of the female characters, arriving at the city of Braavos and going to the House of Black and White, which is the headquarters of the Faceless Men, an international organization of assassins. They consider themselves servants of the many-faced God, who is actually worshipped by all of the religions of the world, the God of Death. They claim that death is a merciful end of suffering and will grant the gift of death to anyone. They do not kill for personal gain or anger or hate, but as a sacrament to their God. As I watched the show, and I was a total fan of the Game of Thrones, I reflected on the theme of death, and of a religious order that actually held death in respect. Well, I think the reason I resonated to that was because Stoic philosophy has a concept absorbed from ancient times called Momento Mori. Memento Mori is Latin for remember that you have to die. It's a trope you find in much literature and even in art. In portraits of the rich and powerful during the Middle Ages and Renaissance, you'll often find a skull or a tiny skeleton hidden in the design somewhere. Other reminders are coffins, hourglasses, wilting flowers, or other things that capture the theme of the impermanence of life. The concept is usually traced back by historians of ideas to one of the dialogues of the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. The dialogue is the Phaedro, which recounts the death of Socrates. It introduces the idea that the proper practice of philosophy includes reflecting on death, because death is the ultimate question mark on life. The fact that life must end makes us ask the question, well, what's the purpose of our life? What are we here for? Other ancient philosophers, such as Seneca, instructed all his students to meditate upon this and remember how passing and ultimately unimportant material possessions are. Like most themes in classical philosophy, it made its way into the Judeo-Christian ethic. Psalm 90 counsels us to remember to number our days so that we may get wisdom. And I know a number of people who routinely wear a piece of jewelry that is designed to reflect this theme. As a martial artist, I myself have studied the code of Bushido, the way of the warrior. Almost all martial artists will encounter this teaching on their way to claim the black belt. It was formalized by an 18th century samurai named Yamamoto Tsutomu, who actually said, "The way of the samurai is death." Increasingly worldwide, the Hispanic custom of the Day of the Dead, where people pause to remember their departed loved ones, is being adopted, and I think this is because people instinctively realize that contemplating the reality of death is helpful to live a good life. Given that it is possible, not likely surely, but possible, that today could be your last day on earth, how should you invest that day? If you think of it, a lot of us would have better lives if we lived with that in mind. What should you be doing with your time? Are there things you should have said to someone rather than leaving them unsaid? I think there is nothing more tragic than people who spend their lives in what one of my spiritual directors called terminal recreation, parked in front of a TV set or a video game console, and never think about the deeper or finer things in life. One of America's greatest writers, Henry David Thoreau, wrote in his 1954 classic book, Walden. He said this when he recounts why he went off to the woods to live simply. He said, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately, to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived. I did not wish to live what was not life. Living is so dear. Nor did I wish to practice resignation, unless it was quite necessary. I wanted to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life." That's the purpose of remembering the joy of your mortality, your Momento Mori. You don't have all the time in the world. Life is limited. That realization can challenge you to do the things that matter to you. It might be to accomplish some goal, plant a garden, to love another person, to have children and raise them well. Whatever it is you want to do, remember to take a shot at it instead of whiling away your time at unimportant pastimes. Or at least take some steps to accomplish what you think you're here to do, because you don't know if there will be a tomorrow. Or as they said in the Game of Thrones, Valar Dohaeris, Valar Morghulis, which is usually translated as all must serve and all must die in High Valyrian. Game of Thrones fans will know all about that. Hey, thank you for your time and attention today. I'll be back next week with another talk on a different subject. I'd like to invite you to join me. It helps me a lot if you tell others about my videos, so please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you're wondering if I can be of help to you, feel free to reach out through my website for a free, no-obligation screening call, and we'll talk about it. Have a great week.